we gotta continue talking about health, which is one of the key topics in this summit. But we want to focus this next panel on health tech. Then we talk about what is health tech. I mean, it's how the technical revolution that we are facing is going to impact on your business, on your day-to-day activities, in the future of health that we are seeing in the next years. And we have a fantastic panel for that. We have investigators, entrepreneurs investigators, Laura, Jordi. We have the ones that invest, Jose, thank you. And we have Sanitas also, service provider. So we have a nice picture to talk about the future of health. First question, I mean, how does technology impact your business, your day-to-day? Is it really helping you? And if not, what would you ask? Go ahead.
Shall I start? So just to give a little bit of context, I'm CEO of a company called Peptomic that is a spin-off of a research lab in oncology. So we generate a lot of data. We generate data from cells, from mouse models, from patients. And before, all this data would just be compartmentalized and analyzed separately. And now we have the big luck to be able to integrate all this data and gather information that we had never seen before. So we can see correlations all of a sudden, for example, with the help of AIs that we had not noticed before. So this amount of data that we are collecting is only growing with time. And it's giving us huge value. And the technology is really helping us to get the best out of this value.
Jesus, what do you think?
Well, in our case, Sanita is a part of Bupa, and we provide services. Just like you said, we have health insurance, we have hospitals, we have aged care, and we also have dental, mainly. Technology has always been at the heart of everything we do. It's been an integral part of the way we understand business, but it is also true that in the last few years, the acceleration in terms of technical availability and solutions has sped a lot. And to me, we are providing service, right? So to me, the biggest opportunity behind all that technology is to be able to be much closer to patients, much closer to customers, and because of that closeness, to be able to provide personalized and hopefully proactive care with people, so that I always say everywhere I go that the health sector has always been about sickness rather than health, because we've been treating sick people rather than treating health. And nowadays we have a very big opportunity in terms of changing things around and starting taking care of healthy people and making sure they stay healthy as long as possible. So that's probably the great enabler behind technology.
Yeah, from our end, we are in clinical diagnostics, and I think technology, I'd like to put 2 points here. Fundamental element is what Laura indicated, that really with the enormous power that we have now on computing, we can process data in a way that we couldn't before, and this really expands terrific in all ways. And this also goes into the analytical part in diagnostics, that we can interpret raw data in a way that before we could not see linkages in between those diseases and those patients. And I think that allows a bit more precision medicine, which is a bit the future. And also technology is deploying something that is maybe simpler but very important. So when doctors, when healthcare providers have information, this information needs to be disseminated to the final person that will execute that information into the patients. And sometimes this is regarded as something very simple, but it happens in many cases that you have a result sitting somewhere in the hospital and does not reach the doctor to make that decision. So I think technology is really breaching those walls to make information more actionable in healthcare. I think this is two fundamental different things, but very important for the future.
Yeah, all these technologies that have been developed during the last years, recent times, are really having an impact already on how we approach the disease, how we approach the therapy, how we approach the diagnosis, and how we approach the monitoring of those patients. And in our case, as an investor, that give us a bigger and broader view of the sector, and a lot of new companies coming from even different spaces where we are used to interact. We get a lot of engineers and a lot of data-driven people with really top-notch projects that really change the value proposition that from now we've been investing and creating value from that innovation. So it is clear how the technology, the new technologies like AI, how it's changing the diagnostics, how it's changing the new targets to address a disease, but it's changing as well how the investor work. Not long time ago, we met another venture capital that used an AI machine as an investment committee member. So they had the 4 members of the 5 or whatever partners that were in the partnership, and they had the decision or the opinion of an AI machine using probabilistic methods on how that molecule, the probability to reach the market, the risk of failure, the toxicity, the team, the university where the innovation came from. All these parameters, they use it in together, and they use it as one member of the investment committee. So that's the level of impact of new technologies even in investment space where it's like more traditional or less technology driven.
Yeah, indeed, many fields. We're talking about data, a lot of data analytics, but it's not only about data. It's all about. I'm just thinking about the remote medical treatment. There's quite a few gadgets, wearable devices that will say how do you feel even before you know that. Maybe from the Sanita side, how you are introducing these very well advanced. Maybe also getting rid of the doctors, of the face-to-face meetings.
Yeah, well, we have been working in the remote telemedicine space for quite a
few. And especially for COVID.
Yeah. During COVID, it's been a big accelerator, but before that, we were already working in remote consulting and video consultation. And IoT, which is the technology you were mentioning with the wearables and so on, is, to me, playing a very big role towards the final rollout of the remote consultations, because, as I said before, it's the technology that enables customers to be closer to their doctors, because it's, in a way, bridging the gap between that space which is created in the video consultation. So, in our case, we have several programs, some which are specifically designed for specific needs, such as chronic patients, suffering from maybe arrhythmias or that kind of thing. That's a whole space that needs specific plans, programs, and attention. And then we have another space which is more sort of designed in terms of health promotion or health prevention and those kinds of services, in which the wearables are somewhat different, because they are, like mass market wearables such as Fitbit or Samsung or that kind of thing. And by ingesting those data, we do have several thousand customers already connected with us. We're able to, help them to live healthier lifestyles, which eventually, obviously, mean longer and happier lives, which is, by the way, our main goal. So we are pretty satisfied with that. Also, we think that there is a big opportunity, because the amount of data that we are gathering is enormous, and there is obviously, like Laura said, a very huge opportunity hidden within those data, and we are doing many things in order to, find the needle in the hay in that whole space in data, and being able to provide the best advice, personalized advice for our customers.
Great. And Laura, about your company that you founded back in 2014, it was?
Yeah, December 2014.
Yeah. Why don't you explain us a little bit how the phase 2 study is going? We know that phase 1 was excellent.
Yeah, so
Laura is a fully multiple awarded investigator, so we're very happy that she's.
I like the spoiler. So the phase 1 has just finished, so the phase 2 will start soon. Just to explain, we have developed a new drug for the treatment of cancer. It's a new drug that attacks an undruggable target. So it's, we are attacking MYC, which is a function shared by all types of human tumors. So you can already see there the opportunity. We have something that could potentially apply to different oncological indications, to different types of cancers. But we are pioneering this because for many, many years, people thought that MYC was absolutely undruggable and untouchable. So we are the first ones to have developed a drug against MYC. And everybody told us that attacking MYC would cause catastrophic side effects in normal tissues, so that patients would have terrible side effects. So of course, before going into patients, we did a lot of preclinical work, first with cells, then with mouse models, in order to be sure that what we were using was not toxic. But of course, the real challenge was to do the study in patients. And phase 1 clinical trial is designed to do that, to check for the safety of new drugs. So the excellent news for us is that the phase 1 went really well. The drug is safe. We even see very, very promising signals of efficacy. Usually in phase 1, you don't expect much signal because the number of patients that you treat is very small. But we are extremely happy, and so we will disclose the results of the phase 1 in September, October. And from then, we can start phase 2. Phase 2 is a study that is a little bit bigger, in which you are really looking for efficacy in specific types of tumors. So this is what is next. But said that, we are the perfect example of a biotech that is trying to climb out of the valley of death, as you can imagine. Because this is when everybody, before investing, is waiting for the results. They know that waiting for another month means more results coming from the clinic. In the meantime, biotechs like ours run the risk of dying, okay? So this is where we are really, really never stopping fundraising. So the big challenge at the moment is to fund the phase 2 of the clinical trial. And it's the biggest round of investment we have done so far. We need at least 40 million euros for this phase 2. But it could be the phase 2 that shows finally the efficacy of this drug. So this is the turning point where we are.
There is a bank account that you can see before below. Jordi's the top expert in diagnosis, probably. He was the co-founder of STAT, who also took Qiagen 2018, it was?
2018.
One of the biggest biotech transactions in the past years. And now Deeple, diagnosis of sepsis. Doing fine also, Jordi?
Yeah, we left that previous project and we felt quite young, and we're looking for a very challenging area in diagnostics, and sepsis is one of those minefields that a lot of big players have pulled out of the market, both in diagnostics and therapeutics. So that was, well, let's give it an attempt. So we talked to a lot of people, and we built a technology package. And going back to the previous initial comment, I think today we have a lot more knowledge and technology than 10 years ago and 15 years ago. So you can attempt now projects that a few years ago were a lot more risky, or we didn't have the information. So what we've done over the past 2 years, first you need investors to finance this type of adventures. We've generated some quite attractive data package that looks at sepsis from different perspectives, and in our opinion that was one of the it's a potential mistake that we did in the past, that we were focused on a potential solution, and sepsis is a syndrome like cancer that you really need to look at the complete picture. So the project is advancing. If everything goes as we plan, we'd like to bring a product to market in 2025. I think in diagnostics it's easier to reach the market. The big question mark is whether that piece of technology in diagnostics is going to do a patient impact, and to which level. And a bit the challenge we're facing here is to disrupt the standard of care, which is liquid blood cultures that have been here for 45 years a very inexpensive technology, low tech, but high performant, but very slow. So we're facing a disease that just has a mortality rate of 20 to 30%. Every hour counts, and we are having a technology that takes 2 days to get a result. So that's a bit the challenge and the future that we're facing with this new project.
Great. And from the investor side, Jose, we know that during the pandemic there's been a lot of new projects growing. What do you do to choose amongst those very interesting projects? What is that you are looking for? Technology, social impact, profitability, of course. Which is the mix?
Yeah. Before getting to the question of the different kind of criteria that we could use in the evaluation, just a comment on the pandemic side, because that is true that during the pandemic, the number of projects that came to my desk, my home desk, because we were at home, was amazing. I didn't expect it, and nobody expected that how all research groups, all companies that got some assets or some ideas on how to address any potential solution to COVID, they were pivoting that asset, that solution, trying to develop a solution for diagnostic, for treatment, or for monitoring, for detecting. And the peak was like, I cannot even count, maybe that year is like 5 times the number of projects that we had in a normal year. A lot of them driven by COVID-related technologies or solutions. What problem we faced at that moment? That says those technologies were not developed for that kind of problem, so they were imperfect. No data was available, so that we had just to make a faith jump on the technology, and we had a very short time to make it work, because it was a right now solution where it was needed. So the result of that is that a very high amount of projects, and the number of investments from investors in the sector was really poor. In Spain, there was a fund that invested in a specific project, more in logistics of the test. In Europe, some projects, of course, were financed, but in comparison with the amount of projects we received, was the difficulty of invest in those kind of projects. But the science is there, and it surprised me. Well, not surprised, but it was proud of the scientific work from those years. And coming back to the general sense, because from last year, I think the number of projects is more pre-pandemic number. So we could be general now on the comments. And I have to say that they have answered this question. When you face a project and you want to invest, you have to check that the science, that the technology is top-notch. It has cutting-edge science, first class, no doubt. You have seen what they're doing, amazing. So that's the first check, they got it. Second check is address an unmet medical need, a really problem for the health of the people. And we're talking about cancer, a specific way of addressing cancer, sepsis. So they're really an issue for the health of the humanity now. They have to have a plan, and they got it. A really good plan, really well thought, and knowing where they're going. And they have to design and attract the right team to execute the plan. Mm-hmm. If you got all those ingredients, maybe you can invest. Then you have to negotiate with them. But and they did well because they are in our portfolio. So they did it.
Yeah. Jesus, what's the relation between Sanitas and the entrepreneur world? I mean, do you have any specific plan to support the entrepreneurs in the health sector? Do you support them with technology, provide them technology? I mean, which is having a specific program?
Yeah. Well, we have like several ways to relate with entrepreneurs and startups. One, we have what we call the Disruptive Program, which is a program that allows startups to come into our workplace and work alongside many Sanitas people. So we help them to scale up their product and their proposal and so on. And then obviously, apart from that, we are already engaging with many startups just in final product deployment. So we have already integrated many startups, both in the digital health space, but also in some health tech approach like these friends have here. So for us, I think the main thing to say that some years ago, my feeling was like, like startups were like asking us, work with me, and now it's turning around a little bit. It's us who want to work with the startups because we can only be humbled by what these guys are doing. We are great admirers of the courage and the great work they're doing. So yeah, we are envisioning that we are going to be transformed into kind of an ecosystem in which we will be able to, really integrate with the startups and provide a customer journey, unified customer journey for our patients, so that they don't feel like they are going through different entities when treating their health, but rather a common one. But hopefully, we will be able to ingest and integrate the best of breed, and with that provide a very satisfying and again proactive health to our customers.
And a closing question. We are running out of time. Just a minute each. Laura, thanks to technology, how do you see the future? A big question. The future of health, because of your work, you guys, technology. What do you expect in the future?
I really, really count on big breakthroughs in health in general. I think in oncology, of course, because I'm seeing the changes happening in the treatment of patients, and in particular in oncology, I count on therapies that are less toxic. Many of you might know people that had cancer and had terrible side effects because of chemo or radio or other therapies. What I really count on for the treatment of cancer is that therapies will be more effective and less toxic.
Well, in my case, again, I'm a service provider, so my dream, and I think what is going to happen, is that we are going to be there much earlier and much closer, and that should enable a whole different healthcare environment.
I think we're going to face an important challenge of potential saturation of technologies. I think being cost efficient is going to be a very important element, because we cannot continue adding new technologies. I mean, the system has a limit, and people that develops technologies and companies and large companies need to be sensitive on how effective overall those technologies for the system as a whole. And also regulatory-wise, in Europe, we're changing the paradigm on how we're going to register medical devices and diagnostics. It just happened 2 weeks ago, and we need to see that that's not put a break in Europe compared to America. Some companies are now looking into deploying and getting registrations in the US rather than in Europe. So this we need to watch out as companies, as all the stakeholders, because this is a muggy terrain that we need to see how it will evolve over time.
Yeah, I could see some of the technologies that now are reaching the patient somehow. We've seen mRNA vaccines with COVID, or gene therapy, gene editing. Those kind of therapies will be on our hands closer than later, or sooner than later. And we will need to, following your comment, Jordi, we will need to figure out how we're going to pay for that. Because the system cannot afford such a kind of expensive treatment. And we are working, from now, of course, on different ways to approach that expense, different ways to measure the efficacy of the treatments. And in 5-10 years, I think in that sense, in that regard, there will be major changes in how we face the affordability of the health.
Okay, we still have a minute. So anyone from the audience that want to make a question, maybe?
One there.
Up there.
I wanted to ask regarding one of the most, let's say, controversial parts on data science and managing data with regards to health. One of the main issues that people may be concerned with is that this data is a valuable target for many, for example, pharmaceuticals or different companies that may have an interest in generating value from the health data from patients, for example. How do you work with all this information without risking all this value to go out and be profitable for maybe malignous agents, let's say?
Who want to take this?
Short answer.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd be delighted to answer a longer answer. In our case, we take the regulations very seriously, so we cover pretty much everything that the regulation is establishing. The information belongs to the patient or the customer, and we don't let that not be the case. So we are always like making sure that we are doing the proper things with the data. So probably that's the answer. But again, we ran out of time, but meet me outside and we can discuss longer, because that's quite an interesting and long question, actually. Thank you.
Thank you very much.